Hello and welcome to another episode of Momento Malum today. In this episode, we'll be covering QTLs of Fireblight resistance, specifically the QTL known as GE8019. Genetic markers are regions in the genome that differ within a species. They're generally inherited like Mendelian traits. These regions, if close to a gene or QTL, will be tightly linked to that gene or QTL and be inherited alongside that marker. QTLs are bundles of genes that code for a specific trait that is quantitative in nature, with each gene adding more of that trait. Quantitative disease resistance falls under this category, as well as yield and many other traits. Amongst the quantitative disease resistance, Fireblight resistance falls under this category as well. Koch's Orange Pippin is a British-bred apple made in 1830 by Richard Koch, an English brewer and horticulturist. Mr. Koch operated the Black Eagle Brewery, located in 27 White Grounds, London, until 1820, when he retired with his wife Anne to Berkshire, England. During his retirement, he pursued plant breeding. He collected seeds from what he believed was the Ripsum Pippin and planted them out to create Koch's Orange Pippin and Koch's Pomona. What we do know about Koch's Orange Pippin is that when you crossbreed this Fireblight susceptible cultivar with other cultivars, you get an increase in Fireblight resistance. This resistance seems to stem from Koch's Orange Pippin itself. This was found to be associated with the region known as GE8019. This region is linked with many genes that increase Fireblight resistance. This means that when a cultivar inherits the GE8019 region, the cultivar will also acquire a great many genes for quantitative Fireblight resistance. It was initially believed that the Koch's Orange Pippin was a cross between the Ripsum Pippin and Blenheim Orange. The problem with that model is that both Ripsum Pippin and Blenheim Orange are triploid apples. Triploid cultivars do not produce viable pollen, and need to receive pollen from other apple cultivars to produce their own apples. Therefore, one triploid cannot crossbreed with another triploid. As a result, the parental lineage of both lines must lie elsewhere. The pedigree of Koch's Orange Pippin, Ripsum Pippin, and Blenheim Orange can be seen on screen right now. Pedigree of Blenheim Orange is that it's a descendant of Renette de Holland, which is also a hybrid between Renette de Carmes and Renette Franche. As for the origins of Koch's Orange Pippin, Renette Franche would give rise to the nonpareil. This cultivar will become a major founder in its own right, giving rise to many russet apples, including the Rosemary Russet. Koch's Orange Pippin itself is made by crossbreeding Rosemary Russet and Margil. The origin of Ripsum Pip can be seen on screen right now. If you want to donate to my channel, the links are below. If you want to buy my book, you can also find that link in the description box below. Rosemary Russet was among the many cultivars studied by Dr. Luby for Fireblight resistance. Dr. Luby and company found that Rosemary Russet alongside other cultivars would produce Fireblight resistant progeny. Because of this factor, I speculate that this cultivar was the source of the GE8019 genetic marker. I even speculate that the nonpareil or Rosemary Russet was the absolute source of this genetic region. I was, however, incorrect. Dr. Nybaum showed that there are cultivars that do not have Rosemary Russet or any of its ancestors in its pedigree, but they still have the GE8019 genetic marker. Such examples include Alexander and Ananas Renette. Ripsum Pippin also has that region in their genetics, although Margil is susceptible to Fireblight. Since not every apple has its marker within their pedigree, it's likely that an even older lineage of apple is the origin for this GE8019 region. On a side note, other markers like AE10375 have been tested for Fireblight resistance. This region is inconsistent in terms of its association with Fireblight resistance, however. Malus Niedzwetzkyana, or the red-fleshed crabapple, is the absolute origin of most current red-fleshed apples in modern times, the majority of which are derived from the pink-fleshed cultivar Surprise. The researcher Adana Nurtaza would study 23 populations of red-fleshed crabapple found in Kazakhstan. The goal was to see what genetic markers for disease resistance could be found within these lines. The researcher found that there's natural populations within Kazakhstan labeled the 3W genotypes that contain 2 genetic markers for scab resistance on a quantitative level, as well as a GE8019 marker. This may indicate that the Fireblight resistant cultivars with GE8019 in their pedigree may be partially derived from these 3W red-fleshed crab apples, but this is just speculation on my part. Derivatives of the nonpareil include a series of cultivars, the majority of which are half or full siblings, with the exception of Ashme's kernel being a seedling of Nolan Pippin. We currently do not know all the male lines for these cultivars, so we do not know how many derivatives outside of rosemary russet are Fireblight resistant, since there have not been any studies on the subject. As a consequence, I do know if any of them have a GE8019 marker. My speculation that the rosemary russet has that GE8019 marker could be falsified through a genetic analysis of rosemary russet. You can find Ashme's kernel, Brownlee's russet, and rosemary russet in Canada through various nurseries. Several derivatives of Alexander are also available in Canada. These cultivars are hybrids between Alexander and other cultivars. Cox Pomona is a hybrid between Alexander and multiple other cultivars. The full details will be covered in a later video. Dr. Oldenburg is a simple crossbreed between Alexander and Ananas Renette. And Gascon Scarlet is a cross between Alexander and Cornish Aromatic. Wolf River is also a seedling of Alexander, although the other parent remains unknown. I guess you better call Maury. None of the research I could find on the derivatives of Surprise discuss the GE8019 market. By virtue of their ancestry, it is possible that this lineage may contain its marker, although we cannot be certain. Pink Princess, Orly's Redflesh, and Pink Pearl are all available in Canada. These are all Surprise derivatives. It would be possibly worthwhile testing out these cultivars for a genetic marker, as would be useful in early screening for Fireblight resistance. And that about covers everything. Thank you for watching.